Coming up, we break down how a couple of stars from the movies Fight Club and Office Space changed us forever. And later, we follow the multiverse road to championship glory for Serena, Gonzaga, and the Texas Rangers. But first, Richard takes the blame for 2020 and burns his bingo card. This is the Sports Gap.
What's going on, everybody? It is Richard Jefferson here. Don't forget, today, Black Friday, Black Santa, yes, that's me, will be doing a giveaway on the Sports Gap. First, you gotta make sure you follow us on IG, then you gotta subscribe to us on YouTube. You gotta answer the 3 questions to win. We will be announcing the winners at 4:20 Eastern, so make sure you subscribe, you follow, and you answer the 3 questions. Now, I've spent a lot of time this year feeling guilty, thinking about my role in a lot of the bad things that have been happening in humanity, and this is real. After all, I was in China when the tweet heard round the world was tweeted, and I was calling the last game before the world was shut down for months.
I was in China earlier this year when people weren't sure whether or not the games were going to go on between the Brooklyn Nets and the Los Angeles Lakers, and there was an uncertainty there, and there's an uncertainty here.
Shoot, I almost shut down the NBA bubble.
This week's public service announcement is the story of one jackass trying to do right, who nearly ruined the $150 million experiment that is the NBA bubble.
And when I pondered my role in the events of 2020, I knew it couldn't be my fault. I started thinking, what could have happened in the simulation for it to go this far off the fucking rails? And let me say this is the first time that fucking was actually in the prompter. Everything else was just kind of me. We're not talking about a potential civil war, people, or some fires. We're talking about all the things happening in one year. I wasn't happy about it, so I put our crack research team at the Sports Gap on the job to find out the source of the crack in the multiverse, and they did it. 2 star-crossed lovers the world had given up hope on. Humanity had begged for these 2 to get back together for decades, and at the top of the year, they teased us with this. The reunion that everyone thought would set things right, but as much as we want it, it just can't happen. Why? Because Brad and Jennifer never had a celebrity couple name. Shoot, we even tried to give them one. I mean, we can't have a power couple if their name doesn't fit. Look, there's Kimye, there was Brangelina, there was Tomcat, and our personal favorite here is Bay-Z. Having a power name doesn't guarantee you'll live happily ever after, but if you don't got it, you end up with this shit in 2020. This never would have happened if Jim would have teased us with a Vince Vaughn reconciliation. We tried to force the energy from the dimension where Brad and Jen are allowed to live happily ever after into our present universe, and then all of this happened. In the past year, we have seen the Rona, the passing of Kobe Bryant, Chadwick Boseman, Naya Rivera, RBG, James Bond, Alex Trebek, John Lewis, Little Richard, Regis, Gail Sayers, John Thompson, and of course, Lute Olson. We had murder hornets, Tiger King, sports were canceled, Skype and FaceTime made way for Zoom, and J. Cole saying he wants that Will and Jada love took on a whole new meaning with the Fresh Prince reaching GOAT status. There's not a single individual who enjoyed this year except for maybe Jeff Bezos tracking to be the world's first trillionaire. That little girl's face is all of us. When we saw this little girl dressed up, bowing her hair in a Pelicans jersey at a Sacramento Kings game, this was her moment. The only time Zion would come to her city for the year, and she'll have to sit through a ton of Zoom classes and wait till 2021 to hopefully get her chance.
Oh shit. Oh my god. Oh god. This is bad.
This sketch from comedian JT Firstman got us thinking, what if the coder who was responsible for the simulation we're living in 2020 hadn't fucked up? In the Sports Gap 2020 multiverse, I would have completed ESPN's first perfect bracket for March Madness and won $1 million. Remember college basketball? I was the only person in America who picked the Arizona Wildcats to beat Gonzaga in the final. Sorry, Zogs, you're gonna have to wait till 2029, but I got you. In an alternate 2020, LeBron James cruises to a regular season MVP award, but loses in the Western Conference Finals to the Clippers after a monstrous fourth quarter by Paul George, who put up 29 points in the fourth, tying Sleepy Floyd's NBA record. Yes, we're definitely going alternate universe here. And we would have had a Summer Olympics in Japan. Friend of the program, kinda, Kim Rhodey would have been on track to medal in her 7th consecutive Olympics dating back to her gold in 1996. In the Sports Gap multiverse, Tiger Woods is back on a tear, winning his 2nd Masters after his ex-wife remarried, and he no longer has to pay alimony. That can take a lot of stress off of your shoulders, trust me. And Tiger wouldn't be the only OG on a tear. Serena Williams, the greatest female tennis player of all time, would have gone on to not only eclipse Steffi Graf's Grand Slam win total, she would have completed the Grand Slam in a single year. Sorry, Naomi, again, you'll get it next time. Like, we're going alternate universe here, people. In an alternate 2020, and with a full season of baseball, the wildcard Texas Rangers take out the evil Empire Astros in the ALCS before taking out the Dodgers in 6 to win their first championship ever. Okay, I'm kidding. We know that there is no universe where the Texas Rangers win anything this year, and unlike Gonzaga, I don't have them picked anytime this century. But hey, look, Vegas has got you at 8,000 to 1, so I guess there is some hope for next year.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah!
The more things change, the more they stay the same. Lewis Hamilton keeps winning in 2020 Multiverse. We've checked multiple multiverses, and there's not one where he's not awesome. Like, good for Lewis Hamilton. The real 2020 was set up to be so good. Every holiday fell on a weekend. It was 420 for the entire month of April, and weed was established as an essential business. For weed smokers, the fact that it was 4/20/20 was really like a holy grail. You might get to see Halley's Comet twice in your life, but no one on this planet will live to see the next 4/20/20. Let that blow your mind. And can you believe that 2020 is a leap year? If there was ever a year that we didn't need an extra day, proving that as messed up as it is, 2020 does have a sense of humor. If not for the Coronapocalypse, we wouldn't have gotten The Last Dance until June.
What they need to release is the Michael Jordan documentary.
Woo! No,
That's-
I'm telling you, if they release that thing right now, the views on it.
What?
Listen,
ESPN. I know I don't want to get fired, but release that. Release that.
What was great about The Last Dance is that we saw that even with greatness, there's conflict. The greatest player who had the greatest stretch that the NBA has seen was still rife with conflict, and we got to see why Phil got called the Zen Master. He understood the idea of mental health days and self-care long before Instagram models started touting health and wellness. Kind of bothers me. My favorite part of the show were the guys around Jordan, the security guards, the ushers, the staff who hung out with him so he could feel normal. Guys whose names haven't been heard before are now memes, and someone gets to say, hey, look, that's my uncle, or that's my grandfather. Seeing how the team behind the curtain created the environment for one of the most famous athletes in the world to achieve individual and team success had its parallels in 2020. These same people you used to pass without looking at them twice, you now remember to say thank you at the grocery store, knowing that they had just worked a double shift, literally risking life and limb to make sure that you could feed your family. We figured out that these people were essential and tried to give them their roses. It has been a volatile time to be in the US amidst the pandemic and the clashing of political and social discourse around police brutality. Who knew that seeing the murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery would be the catalyst for the Redskins and Aunt Jemima to change their name? And let's be honest, Dan Snyder barely made this effort after decades of protests. What did he come up with? The Washington football team. Not only that, a few days ago, he officially cut ties and defunded one of the organizations set up by the team in 2014 to assist Native Americans. The UFC never stopped hosting bouts, but the 4 major sports were on hold for almost 3 months. In July, as the NBA prepared to tip in the bubble, it did so in the face of 2 pandemics, the virus and centuries of systemic racism. Much of the conflict around returning to the sport hinged on the players' ability to effectively fight that second virus while in the bubble. Thoughts turned to what could they do in Orlando versus players' belief that they could do more in the streets than on the court.
I think it'd be stupid to not play for two reasons. Number one, if they don't play, they're going to be out of sight, out of mind for the rest of the year. There won't be no cameras following. And LeBron is probably the most famous athlete in the United States. He won't be visible anywhere. And so us out of sight, out of mind. Also, these guys got to realize this money going to come back and they're going to lose billions of dollars that the players could use to go into their own communities and do some great stuff.
That said, millions watched as Black Lives Matter was prominently displayed on the courts for all to see. Woke became a social and political ideology linked to the movement for Black lives, and political pundits and players all tried to stake their grounds on the issue. Woke also is a great show on Hulu, headlined by super friend of the program Lamorne Morris, which just got renewed for a second season. Go check it out. Play or don't play. You could debate whose truth is more true 3,000 more times without a clear answer. Kneel or don't kneel. Honestly, it doesn't matter to me. Just don't do it on our brothers and sisters' necks. Sports eventually came back, and in the wake of the Jacob Blake shooting, they were shut down again for days following the Milwaukee Bucks walk-off. That global domino effect of professional athletes standing up for the lives of everyday people established a new standard that is here to stay. Which is more than what we can say for Quibi. I'm sorry. Even the super rich had to downgrade, as Katz and Meg Whitman were seen here shopping for G4s instead of G5s. Look, everybody has to downgrade, everybody has to make sacrifices. Millions of people lost their jobs this year, but a select few have found that they will never have to find a job again. Like 100 million in a year? That's gotta be the fastest rise in the history of any type of social media. 100 million in a year? You don't know anything. And then this fall, a juggernaut emerged in the form of a new genre of program, sports edutainment. With the September 25th premiere of the Sports Gap, ROG Roy Wood gave us one simple mantra.
Don't fuck this up.
And that's exactly what we've been trying to do for the last 10 weeks, is not fuck this up. What has been fun about this show is that we have learned alongside you all the crazy ways that sports intersect with our lives and things we will never think about. Like the jock tax, and how Michael Jordan is responsible for me paying taxes in 16 states during my professional career. After the Bulls beat the Lakers in the '91 finals, the state of California told Jordan he would owe taxes for every day he spent in LA. So Illinois hit back. They passed a bill known as Michael Jordan's Revenge. This is a real thing, people. This year, we also got to see the evolution of sports as athletes took bold new stances, like when Landon Donovan stood up against homophobia in sports.
We are still here trying to get the explanation. Landon is there. Rick Chance, who is head coach for Phoenix.
We also got to laugh at dumb things happening to good people. This cost this man 2 weeks, and he was forced to make a public apology for this. Yes. For this. And commiserate with cities let down by their professional sports teams.
Houston, it's hot, and we're forced to go out and show our support for our teams in the worst of weather and the worst of circumstances. Man, look at the Oilers. We probably gotta be the only team that got beat with the team that left us for. That's like getting in a fight with your ex's new boyfriend and getting beat up. But as Houstonians, we take the worst of the worst.
While others were seemingly on a roll. Go LA.
It's party time in LA. Don't forget your mask.
Somehow, hundreds of thousands of you got a whiff of what we were doing over here. Viewing episode 6 as we showed you that presidents were athletes too, while also sharing important Native American history. When Sitting Bull overwhelmed Custer's forces with nearly 2,500 men, put this on the list of biggest upsets all time for Team America. But was it an upset? We knew we were onto something, and then the YouTube bots flagged us and we started getting emails saying that our subject matter was touching on sensitive events. This means you're doing something right.
High school girls love me. 14 to 18, I'm a big star with them. As soon as they mature.
Like every bit of this video hurts.
They start figuring out that, wait a minute, I know there's better than that out there, you know?
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that Matthew McConaughey's character in Dazed and Confused was purely based off of Chris Collinsworth.
That's what I love about these high school girls, man. I get older, They stay the same age.
At least we're of age. Growing pains persisted and we were told to lay off the political coverage, but instead we created our own award show for all of the participants in the 2020 election cycle, even Tupac.
Oh, shit. Hey, well, I'm New Hampshire.
Our social content producer, LJ, was so frustrated in her effort to share our content that she split the episode into 3 parts in hope to give the people more of the sports gap. So we dedicated an entire episode to weed, and she and the masses were appeased. Our editor, Zuri, was worried that we had too much drug talk in the episode, but our stoner and denial Jamaican producer, Rob, had to remind him,
marijuana is not a drug. I used to suck dick for coke. I seen them. Now that's an addiction, man. You ever suck some dick for marijuana? Huh?
My favorite part of doing this show is coming up with the wild theories that connect the dots in the weird world we live in. Rob Gronkowski started promoting Tide Pods, and while I can't prove correlation or causation, this was a real headline not long after that. And we're surprised that 2020 has been so sideways. We had kids eating Tide Pods a few years ago. Like, let's be real. Looking at that reminds me of all the fun we had making the Sports Gap. It's almost cathartic. And here we are, episode 10, the season finale. In one of the crazier years on record, they were seniors who missed their last opportunity in high school and will never get a chance to put on a jersey again. The same thing goes for college seniors and the many opportunities lost this unimaginable crisis. As Heisman winner Joe Burrows noted, if the pandemic happened last year, he'd likely be looking for a job. Joe was one of the great sports stories of 2020 before things went sideways. Coming from nowhere to lead LSU to the national title and being drafted #1, only to have 2020 still get his ass. There's a saying that athletes die twice, the first time being when they have to hang up their jersey for the last time. For the athletes caught by the bad timing of this pandemic, especially the amateur athletes, it's too late. Many of them never got to make that tournament championship run or take a final moment to say or wave goodbye. Here's looking to their futures and wishing them the best wherever or however the ball may bounce. See you on the pickleball court. You can actually drink while you play, it's not that bad. And to season 2 of the Sports Gap, let's run it back, ladies and gentlemen. See you in 2021, people. Like, comment, subscribe, but most importantly, share. Tell a friend to tell a friend. 2020 is Pittison's fault.
If you want new episodes as soon as they drop, go subscribe to The Sports Gap on YouTube.